more. And you can't visit Laurel, Mississippi without seeing some of Adam Trest's artwork around the city. And one of his latest projects is illustrating Erin Napier's book, The Lantern House. And he is joining us today on Good Things. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Rebecca, thanks for having me.
So I have been interested in you since I saw you on the Hometown episode where one of your family members had moved back to Laurel and they did the entryway in Wallpaper, which was custom done from one of your paintings. And I thought, wow, that's so cool. How was it like seeing your artwork now, as wallpaper?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. We, being able to be in Laurel and being a part of Hometown, getting to see some of my work made into these things like wallpaper, and getting to do paintings for family members and for people having their homes redone. It's been a really cool experience, and just it's been awesome to see our town kind of revitalized through the Napier's leadership in the show, and the way that they're just kind of including all of the talents and stuff that we have all over our town. It's a pretty cool process.
Well, I have to say, if folks are scratching their brains now trying to connect you to that specific episode, it was the whimsical, it has the deer and the fox. It's sort of your, iconic go-to kind of drawings. When did you first start drawing those deer and those fox and the sort of layout, the sort of whimsical forest layout?
It's the thing I love about Mississippi is there's so much inspiration all around us. Like we have such beautiful landscape, beautiful flora and fauna. When I was a kid, like fourth grade, I think I saw Walter Anderson's work for the first time, and it was hugely it just really was an impression, or it was really impressed on my brain at that point. And I studied him and studied his style, and then sort of developed and made my own style through all of that. But really, to answer your question, I mean, back in elementary school was when I first started to develop the style that I have today, and took a few side routes and did portraiture, and I even went crazy and went to architecture school for a little while, and but ended up back being able to paint the things that I really love, and the things that always kind of gave me that inspiration to begin with, for sure.
I think we've all done crazy things in our life, Adam, but I don't think any of us would fill in the blank with architecture school as being one of the
You'd be surprised, I think.
Okay, but you've got your latest project with Erin. It's not necessarily redoing houses in real life, but it's through the book, The Lantern House. Did you guys know each other living in Laurel, like pre-hometown, or did you guys cross paths, after the show got popular and sort of realizing the community coming together?
Sure. So we each went to a different county high school here in Jones County. We're both around the same age. I think Erin graduated a year before I did. So we've always known of each other. And then after college, we all moved home, and there was this really awesome community of young people in Laurel around 2010. And that was when we all started working together, and it was like none of us had any money. We just were doing what we were doing, trying to make it in the fields that we had chosen. And Erin and I had opportunities to work on lots of projects together. We have actually, with Erin's mom, wrote and illustrated a children's book about the history of Laurel that we self-published, 8 years ago. And so we've definitely had lots of projects, and then through Hometown, we've been able to really do a lot more projects together. But the book, I feel, is it's a special one. It's a project that we've gotten to work on that has taken us about, we've been working on it all year this year, and it'll come out next May. And it's just a really fun, beautiful story about a house and the people that live in the house and the seasons of life of a house. It's really, I'm excited for people to read it because I feel like it's one of those that has the makings of a classic. Like it's just one that you can read in all different stages of life and feel like it really hits home. Yeah.
This has got to be a different style of project for you, Adam, than just getting someone who commissions one of your artworks. Or I know you also sell some of your paintings, on Facebook, whatever gets you inspired. But now you have a story. And, for those who still have children or can remember reading to their children or maybe now reading to their grandchildren, you can a good children's book, you almost don't have to read the words. You can just look at the illustrations and it kind of, shares or tells the story for itself, or it leads you at least enough in a way that you can fill in the blanks if you didn't have the words there. So did y'all work on this sort of like together? Because I can only imagine how hard it would be to bring words to life if they're not your words.
Yeah, absolutely. Erin has such a way with words, and the way that she writes really does paint a picture. So in that regard, it made my job easy because the pictures, she can create a picture really well. But then also on the flip side, it was really fun to be able to take that and use my style. And it's like you said, like I have my 4-year-old. I want her to be able to pick up the book and tell me the story without being able to read. And I think that's the hope of any illustrator, is that you get that where the story is told through the pictures. And we had a great time working on these illustrations. It was fun because Erin came with this manuscript, this beautiful story, and of course, there was input like, well, visually as an illustrator, maybe if you tweaked this, that would help. And our relationship and our history of working together, where we were able to do that. But also, she would come back and say, in my mind, that house was yellow and it wasn't blue, and things like that, where we sort of worked together collaboratively to make sure that we were both really proud of the product that we were able to put out. So, yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful cover. I know it's for pre-order now. That's the Lantern House, which I think the cover is for any book. It doesn't matter what genre or whatever. You have to nail the cover pretty much to sort of get someone to purchase it or to lure them.
Sure.
Did it come to you like what the cover should be? Did you mull over it?
It's funny. The process of illustrating a children's book is, I had my first deadline was all of the sketches, just the quick sketches, the ideas, and the cover was in that. And so you get that approved by the publisher, and then you get a second round, final sketches, where everything's a little cleaner, and then you go to final art. Well, man, we slaved over this cover. I think I ended up painting it like 5 times because we just wanted it to be perfect. I mean, you're right. And in the world that we live in now, it doesn't just have to stand off of a shelf. It's got to be seen as a little tiny icon on your computer, and it has to scream off of the pages of Amazon or, Target.com or whatever. It's got to be able to be just as bold and loud online as it does off of a bookshelf in a bookstore. So
I'm glad you mentioned
hard to make it right. Yeah.
Yeah, y'all did. You nailed it. If they're watching over at SuperTalk TV, they can see Rhino's done a great job, Adam, of putting a photo of it up between you and I chatting today here on Good Things. But I like that you mentioned that you painted it, because I was going to ask, now with all the digital art available, specifically with like illustrations, I'm curious, did you do it all old school first and then, translate that into, painting or actual paintings to then translate into digital, or did you do it digitally? Because I think drawing digitally is a talent in itself.
Yeah. So, we really wanted for this book to have all of the feels of those children's books that meant the most to us. The first meeting that Erin and I had when we sat down and went through the creative process was, hey, I've got all my favorite children's books from when I was a kid. You bring all your favorite children's books from when you were a kid, and let's sit down and look at them and talk about all the things we love about them. And so the thing that we decided was that original hand illustrated, like back to the paint and paintbrush. Like that was what we wanted the look and feel of the book to be. And so we did. All of the illustrations are done traditionally. We did, obviously you go back in and you edit with the computer, but we even went so far as to, we wanted the pages to feel aged. We wanted them to feel like those classic children's books. So I think when you open it up, you'll see lots of fun little surprises of, it doesn't feel like this shiny new book. It feels like a book that you've already loved for a long time. And there's lots of real intentional design choices that we made when we did that.
Kind of like the house in the story, the Lantern House, which has,
Absolutely.
been loved for a long time. Well, I would love to keep you a little bit longer, Adam, and ask about maybe the art scene going on there in Laurel, if you can stick with us here on Good Things. Coming up next, Adam Trest. He's an artist, and you'll see that I'm continuing my conversation with Adam Trest. He's artist and illustrator there in Laurel, Mississippi. He has partnered with Erin on their upcoming book, The Lantern House. But I want to go back to this art scene that sort of created itself in Laurel, or maybe it didn't create itself. It feels like it's intentional, but it feels like there's this intention to sort of bring the local artist out from Jones County and around and really enhance downtown Laurel. Am I right in that being intentional, Adam?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the things that I love about Laurel, and the reason it drew me and my family back to live here, after college, was that our town has this beautiful. We're centered around the Lauren Rogers Museum of Art, which is, I always tell people, it's the best museum in the Southeast that we don't deserve. It's got all of these amazing pieces in it that have always sort of been the draw to bring artists to our town. And plus, our town is just really beautiful, in my opinion. We have so many great historic buildings and historic homes, and the founders of our town were really intentional about the parks that they put throughout our town. They called them a string of emeralds, which I always think is really cool, because these beautiful green spaces that are just sort of strung through our town. And it's brought, things like, obviously the Lauren Rogers brings lots of art, but also there's a plein air event that happens every year where plein air artists, who are artists who paint outside, if you're not familiar, they come every year, and it benefits our domestic abuse shelter, things like that are just really cool, that bring artists into our town to see the beautiful things that we have for them to paint.
I see that across Mississippi, Adam, is more of our downtown or Main Street organizations really embracing their local artists, from murals to just putting, paintings or sculptures in, very obvious places. And it's interesting to see how it transforms that space. Just having, your normal playground or your sitting area, and then all of a sudden you put up a work of art and the artist's name. You feel like the people in the community stop and pause just a little bit, even if it's not for long. At least they take that moment to just be present. Cleveland just started, a program where they are restoring and painting old pianos and putting them around town that actually work. Cool. And so they're works of art plus opportunities to play music. So for artists like yourself, Adam, what does it mean for you to go to your downtown area, even if before you had the clout that you have now, just to see your work on where everybody's walking by?
It's crazy. It's really, it's funny when you have a big blank wall in a downtown. It's just there as a big blank wall. But as soon as you identify it and make it become this piece of art, like a mural or something, people, they get ownership of it. They're proud of it. That's beginning to make the identity of their town. And so to get to be the representation of some of that identity is really cool. We have a lot of murals in Laurel, but we also have done this really cool thing that makes murals a little bit more accessible, is that we've started putting banners on our buildings. And so it's not necessarily as permanent as a mural that's painted on brick necessarily, but it also gives you an opportunity for bigger impact with less of a financial contribution, because banners don't have to be as expensive, but they still pack the same punch as a mural. And then also you get the opportunity to share that. Maybe you have multiple artists in your community. It can be a yearly thing, a quarterly thing, where you get to share this big space that you have to help those artists begin to shape the identity of your town. So that's one of the things that we've seen pop up quite a bit in our downtown now. There's 2 different parks in town that have my work on them on banners. And it's really cool to see them, for my kids to go, hey, my dad painted that. It's this really neat idea where they're excited because there's one of Dad's paintings that they saw on my easel, a month ago. Now it's hanging on the side of a building. But yeah.
Well, Well, if they're watching Good Things on SuperTalk TV, they'll actually see your easel behind you. I'm going to assume you're in
Yes,
your studio there in Laurel. And I was
I am.
Facebook
Yeah.
stalking you over at Adam Trest Studio earlier today. And I noticed this post where you had a blank canvas back there, and you were talking about how, you work in such quiet quarters, right? You're very focused, and most artists are when they're in the flow and sort of going. What's it like going from that quiet sort of space where you're creative and you're in the flow, then you have to turn around and also, part of the success of Hometown and all things Laurel is make yourself available for more
Yeah,
extroverted type activities. How is that
absolutely.
for your artist brain?
So I think that I'm an introverted extrovert because I do love that part of it too. I love for people to recognize my work, and I love to talk about my work, and I love to hear how my work affects people. That's been one of the coolest parts of this is the reach of my work has now spread nationwide. Like we sell original paintings. The Karen Gallery in Tupelo represents my original works, and it's always funny to me when I release a collection. Um, I assume that they just go, maybe to Jackson or to Tupelo, but it's unbelievable to see how these pieces go all over the country. And a lot of that is people love Mississippi artists, first of all, because we have such a long heritage of great artists and writers and musicians. People appreciate that, and there are collectors all over the country that love Mississippi. And so we now that we have this sort of spotlight on our hometown, which is so weird because it really is the people that are on the show that are really just our neighbors and our friends that now people all over the country know who they are. And so it's fun because that relates to my work too. It's I think we're about to send two pieces to Northern California. I think we sent a piece last week to South Carolina. I mean, like they just go all over the place, and having that visibility has really been awesome.
You never know the ripple effect, right? When you're just being authentic and yourself with good intentions, which I think is at the core of why Hometown is so successful. It's authentic, it just has good intentions. And then, it came at a time where everybody was sort of hungry for that and also seeing a community come together. And Laurel definitely has done that. I also saw where you went and refilled your cup maybe by looking at some of your art heroes. And I thought to myself, Adam Trest, I wonder who your art heroes are. Who are you spending time, taking in their talents?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I are you talking about? I went to the Art Institute recently
I
and
think
just
so.
kind of soaked in just the masters. To be able to see a Picasso up close was such an awesome experience. But I also think we have such great museums right here in our state, and like I said, the Lauren Rogers, they have so many amazing pieces that sometimes it's just a drive down the street and to walk through the Lauren Rogers and see, I call them my old friends that I might not have visited in a while because I've been able to see them and be part of that collection and see those collections since I was 10. But then to be able to also, I mean, artists like Walter Anderson and George Orr and just those amazing guys that are just right here in Mississippi that we can go to the coast and see their work. And, they have played majorly influential in my life. To see their work and to see, all of the pieces that they created in their lifetime. Yeah, absolutely. I think Orr and Anderson would be two of my biggest influences for sure.
So we know where we can maybe get your paintings or even prints, but is the wallpaper up for sale, or and I think
So the
it's your aunt.
wallpaper's not available.
Ah, not that I
How
have
funny
anywhere to
is
put it.
we worked with a local vendor to produce for that particular episode, and the hope was that we would find someone to license the artwork to produce it on a larger scale, and it just the cards never fell right, and so we just yeah, Aunt Cindy, she's got the beautiful foyer.
Well, I'll have to admit, Adam, my husband's probably relieved, so now I don't have to make him put up wallpaper. It's easier to hang a painting. Where can we find all things Adam Trest? Is it Adam Trest Studio on Facebook, or do you have a website?
So all the links are at adamtrest.com. You can get my original works online at the Karen Gallery in Tupelo and Laurel Mercantile, laurelmercantile.com. They sell all of my prints. We just released Christmas last week, I guess. Those have been doing really well. And but you can find all of the links to all the different places on adamtrest.com.
All righty. Well, congratulations on all your success. I hope everyone gets out, visits Laurel, sees all the great artists in the local downtown. And thank you for your time, Adam.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks for having me.
All righty. You guys stick with us. We've got more good things for you coming up next.